Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson, a World Alternative Media here, and of course we're joined by author and economic analyst here, I'm John Sneisen. And man, some of you guys think the worst of us. Recently I did a video just a couple days ago about why Bitcoin was going down. It was, a correction. Something that is healthy within any market is to see it take a breather, because that's a good sign that it's not a bubble, because obviously bubbles don't take that many breathers and fluctuate at that rate. But so many people commented and they said, well, you conveniently left out the fact that China just banned ICOs. Well, actually, the news hadn't come out yet, guys. So again, don't think the worst of us. We're not being paid off by henchmen. I have my concerns with issues with Bitcoin, as well as would anybody in this market, or any market for that matter. But the problem with a lot of the hype about this Chinese ICO ban is that it's not going to affect the long-term mathematics, because you can imprison people, but you can't imprison mathematics. And the algorithm stays the same. China banned Google. China banned Facebook. How did that turn out for them? It's going to have an effect on the market, of course. And we saw a major bloodbath in the crypto market, and especially the altcoins, because, I mean, I'll be completely fair here. There have been a ridiculous amount of ICOs, and a lot of them are risky and dangerous. That's not for the government to decide. That's for individuals to decide as individuals and take their risks into their own hands and be smart about what they do. So I don't think that this is going to have a long-term effect. There's already major startups happening in China, and the free market always prevails outside of the state. The state is naturally a nefarious entity that looks to enslave people, hurt people, put them at gunpoint, kill and kidnap people, and stop people from freely interacting between other free individuals on a voluntary basis. And that's exactly what's happening here. China is not a good country. The government is terrible, just like most countries in the world. But China has is trying to make this ultimate power grab right now, which is dangerous to a lot of us. But there are always ways around via the free market. John, what do you think about this development?
Well, I got an idea how we get around it. It's quite simple. You don't use yuan cryptocurrency exchanges. You just go directly from Bitcoin and then fund an ICO with Bitcoin currency into the new ICO. So there's totally ways around this. Of course, the government thinks that they could ban it just by saying, we're going to stop everything, because they can only stop where you go into the currency from fiat. That's their only place that they could really stop it at the exchanges. So that's the number one thing. And of course, the bank account. So these ICO companies, you put, for example, the yuan or other currencies into it, and then, of course, they could ban it. Now, what you got to understand is that, yes, they banned, let's see now, there was more than $1.6 billion raised worldwide from ICOs. The number of ICOs in China has also risen sharply, with 65 ICOs raising almost $400 million from 105,000 individuals so far this year. So that's how it was in China. And of course, they have said that all these ICOs and all the coin owners are supposed to actually give back all the money to their investor. And this is just another move, because they see it as a threat to financial stability. Yes, of course, because people are moving out of the failing fiat control.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're saying. It's a threat to the infrastructure of the central banking system.
Yeah, of course.
And
it's a counter. It's a counter decentralized central banking system that people themselves are creating. And it's very dangerous. And of course, there is risks there that too many people get too much control by having either too much of the currency, or they would have too much of the processing power of the currency. Now that's the two only real risks to cryptocurrencies. The other, you gotta understand that the force behind for example Bitcoin. When you look at the bigger Bitcoin mining pools out there, they have billions of dollars worth of equipment that are actually running the blockchain algorithms and are proving transactions and are creating new Bitcoins through the mining process.
Yeah, and there are temporary problems that cryptocurrencies face. One is transaction waiting time. That's really a scourge on the markets, but it's not something that's going to keep the market from ever growing. Then there's also the fact that, yeah, there can be an EMP attack. The internet can be shut down, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's why there's paper wallets. That's why there's USB wallets. That's why there's alternative internets where people actually create their own versions of the internet with their own signals, with their own ability to transact between each other without this mainstream internet that we think of when we say, well, they can turn the internet off.
Well, you can EMP harden everything. You can EMP harden a data center by Faraday caging it, basically putting in an aluminum foil type of things that, like, I've done these types of installations where we had fiber optical cables coming into a server room and everything was Faraday caged, so no signal would ever get out of there. And this was the main, Norwegian Secret Service slash FBI slash CIA.
Are you allowed to talk about that?
Maybe not, but it's I don't really care too much.
Yeah.
People,
the Norwegian government's going to come
if people
after
even know about that, like, who cares? Like, you can't get in there because there's no signal going in.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's important to once again mention, as I do all the time, Bitcoin is not fiat. These comments that I'm getting on videos are ridiculous and they lack any comprehension of what fiat is. Fiat is centrally planned based in debt. It can be printed and printed and printed into oblivion, create vast amount of inflation. Bitcoin,
and it's enforced upon you.
Bitcoin is decentralized, the opposite of fiat. It's based on scarcity and demand, much like gold is based in scarcity and demand. And on top of that, people talk about how it can be manipulated. The algorithm will always stay the same. You can't manipulate the actual algorithm of it. You can try and pump it and dump it. You can do all those things. Cost you tens of billions of dollars these days to do that properly. So it's not easy. And in the end, it'll still bounce up to its set algorithm. So it's just math. You can't really change that. And just the amount of people that say that it's the same thing as fiat, it's just totally ridiculous because fiat is completely
it's forced upon you. Like, fiat currencies are forced
legal
upon
tender
you.
laws.
Yeah, by legal tender laws. That's what fiat is, and it has no value to it. It has no backing. The only thing, well, actually, there's some backing to it when you think about it, because they actually now have processing power. Most of it is electronic, so it's kind of a little bit of a backing. But it's supposed to be, the backing is supposed to be the enforcement of the government stealing your taxes. That's what actually gives it backing. Today's fiat currency.
Stealing, extorting. Yeah, exactly. So people, please stop mixing up Bitcoin with fiat. Just because it's not physical in your hands doesn't make it fiat. Fiat has a set definition, and that definition isn't what is controlling Bitcoin.
Well, one other interesting aspect, I had some people saying, like, what should we do if Bitcoin hits like 1 million a Bitcoin? What are we going to do? Well, it's simple. People are afraid, how are we going to do transaction with 1 million Bitcoins when you only got zero?
There's the denominations.
No, but you can even, I talked to the experts and they say you could divide it into 16, like 0.16 zeros, 32 zeros, 64 zeros.
Well, they used to lend out those Bitcoin coins, the physical coins that were 0.1 Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And you can do 0.0001 Bitcoin. I mean, it's not that difficult to understand. Look at the yuan, for example. Think about how extensive the denominations are with the yuan. Yeah. Instead of just cents, there's many digits because it's such a, obviously devalued currency. And they print 0.000 on the end of it, and it just becomes incredibly over.
What's great with Bitcoin, though, is you got these zeros after a dot. They're not zeros.
Yeah, no, that's the point. So there's the opposite.
The current system works like this. So you got the 0, which is the first one, and then it's dot 0.0000000. So it's 8 dots after that, and one of those little guys is a Satoshi. So that's what they call it.
And same with the Japanese yen. I think it was 100 billion Japanese yen were put into stocks in Japan, but that equals about 904 million US dollars. I mean, that's what I mean. You don't have to base it on a currency. So people say, well, if you're basing the value of Bitcoin on fiat, then what happens when fiat goes down? Then Bitcoin will go down. No, that's nonsensical. If you look at what you base the US dollar on, you don't go, if the yuan goes away, how am I going to base my US dollars on the yuan? It's ridiculous. It's nonsensical.
Well, if Bitcoin becomes $1 million worth, it probably is not going to be able to even be bought for dollars, to be honest with you.
Well, yeah, but I mean, in the end, if Bitcoin does replace the fiat centrally planned money, or currency, I should say, then there is an argument for, well, you have this many Satoshis instead of Bitcoins. You have this many bits. You know, you make different denominations of it and call it whatever you want, but you can use it in that way. And, you know, it's so important that people stop thinking that you have to base everything on fiat. That's just it's backwards. It's backwards in history.
We
it
grew
goes
up
back
with
into
fiat, so it's just a normal
yeah.
thinking pattern.
Well, no,
right?
it's beamed into your head on a daily basis, and it's just not necessary, and people have to understand that. But finishing it off, Bitcoin at the 7-year average daily rate of growth should hit $250,000 by the year 2020. Now, this new development could slow it down because there's so much action on the Bitcoin end of things in China. At the same time, these ICOs that are being banned, this will actually help Bitcoin because people are going to be putting more money into Bitcoin than the other, new altcoins.
Well, what I saw was an interesting chart, and we'll see if we can actually find it here. A chart that actually shows the adoption rate of different technologies.
Mm-hmm.
And what I saw currently, like Bitcoin is only at a 0.015 or 0.015, I don't remember the exact number, adoption rate of the like populace of the world. So we're not even close to
Oh yeah, the potential is incredible. People say it's overvalued. I say it's incredibly undervalued because there's so many people that don't understand it yet, don't know about it, and will soon as the dollar continues to tumble, as the stock market continues to tumble. People want assets, people want currencies that they can trust.
Well, if people can figure out, if the technicians can figure out how to, create a better transaction volume like Visa or MasterCard has, if you can get to that, then Bitcoin is gonna like beat these outdated like old systems big time.
Yeah, and as I kind of just loosely went into earlier, I have the article up here. Sequoia IDG to invest in China Bitcoin mining giant. Bitmain is said to raise $50 million for AI expansion. And Bitmain produces Bitcoin mining machines, runs mining pools. It's huge, and it is, I guess, kind of a bit of a monopoly on
well,
mining.
actually, Bitmain is a massive company. It's of course one of the biggest miners out there. They have two mining pools, and I'll just get quickly into those two mining pools. One of them is Ant Pool, and these are also the guys that create the Ant miners, which is the fastest miners in the world. And when they go out and sell these guys, it's ridiculous. They sell it for 3 months in advance.
Yeah.
Like, so now they had, I think, the sale for November or December or something.
Yeah.
And then people buy the ant miners from them. I think it's like 3,000 maybe. And then suddenly right after they're on eBay for $6,000. So these guys have a massive production line. They had to invest $250,000 to actually create all the boards and everything to create these computers that are mining. But they own two pools, which is Ant Pool, so that comes from their Ant miners that they have, the L3s. And,
which is about 15.4%.
Yeah, 15.4% of the total processing power of Bitcoin. And then BTC.com, which is 10.9%. Now, I'm trying to look into if they own any more. I don't know as of yet. I haven't been able to find anything else. But that's a 26% owning of the total Bitcoin power. Now, it doesn't pose any danger right now because you have to have at least 51% to like try to, really like try to attack Bitcoin. It's called a 51% attack for the geeks out there.
And things like BitClub, which is owned by someone that I've had a chance to hang out with a bit in the past on a few different occasions, Joby Weeks. BitClub is doing really well and it's growing, and there's a lot of others out there, independent people that are trying to compete for that processing power and grow in size and scope, and there's a lot more people every day, so I wouldn't panic about that anytime soon.
The big problem is that, of course, Bitmain, and they got all the creation of like the circuit boards is happening in China, where of course everything is getting created these days. So maybe we should start businesses here that creates these miners and then start to compete back, because we need to stop like the Chinese accumulation of the processing.
Well, and I would just say that obviously China is buying up a lot of gold. China seems to be just on a trajectory to
everything.
Yeah, because everything's crashing, and they're crashing too. Their debt crisis is unthinkable, and they're trying to accumulate assets. They have gold, silver, Bitcoin, other altcoins, and but my point with this is mostly that things like Sequoia and IGG. I mean, these guys, this is just another example that the game is not over, folks. And you see this ICO ban. Not to worry. There's the free market always has an answer for everything. Individuals always have an answer, and this the mathematical fundamentals will have a way out of any bad situation that comes from government intervention. And with that said, I would say stay away from Bitcoin Cash, because the processing power is owned like 97% by one or a few anonymous people, and I would not want to be involved in that. I kind of think it's a trap personally, but I mean, that's up to you to decide. You have to do your own due diligence, and that's what's most important in all of this. But bottom line, John?
Well, bottom line is with this is it's a new technology. It's been out there for just a little bit of time, but the free market are seeing a tremendous inflow of capital to it, because it's valuable to the free market, to the general populace. And soon I believe they will see what I used it for back in the day when it first came out. I actually used it to buy several things with it. So I think that is going to be the next big adoption step. But then, of course, we need to really reform, as I said, create a faster blockchain technology that could really pull through a lot of transactions, because people start to adopt this, like it's going to clog up pretty fast.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're just in the infancy of this market. You could tell by the fluctuation of the value. We're in the infancy still. There's still a long way to go. And it's important to mention that there are so many countries in the world that are already adopting Bitcoin to be used in stores and shopping. You could use it on Amazon. You could use it all over the place. And the Western countries are kind of pulling away from that, because obviously there's a huge establishment status quo that needs to be upheld by the statists out there. And in the countries where you see it used as well, you see it used often in Mexico, Japan, Russia, etc. But absolutely. But with that said, I guess some people are smarter in those places and just don't go along with the tide of the state, and they disobey it. And they prosper because of it, and the rest of you will prosper if you disobey the state as well. So anyway, it's all upwards and onwards. I'm looking forward to the next several years of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. Always have to be careful with a lot of the altcoins, but nonetheless,
one last thing: you can't do deficit spending with Bitcoin, and you can't collect taxes.
Absolutely, and that's a beautiful thing. So until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson and John Sneisen signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth,
be the change.
Now to sound like an auctioneer. Thanks for watching, everyone. Check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon. We can't do it without you. Any donation is very much appreciated, especially as we are so vastly demonetized and censored by YouTube as they bring in the Anti-Defamation League to flag all of our content as hate speech. Also check our Bitcoin address in the description in the comments, as well as on the screen for you to scan if you please. And don't forget to check me out at Josh Sigurdson at Steemit.com. That's Steemit.com, the future of social media, where you get paid via cryptocurrencies, Steem that is, by the upvote and demand of your post. It's bound to take out the dinosaur social media, so I hope to see you there. But until next time, check out this word from our sponsor.
Are you looking to exchange a large amount of US dollars? Don't overpay with the bank on currency exchange. Think outside the bank. Banks charge unnecessary fees of up to 3%. Truth be told, currency exchange with the bank will cost you hundreds to thousands of dollars. Start saving now. Step 1. Register online. Visit our website and click Get Started. Step 2. Book a transaction. Phone us for a quote and to complete the transaction. We'll need to know which currencies you are converting and how much. Step 3. Transfer of funds. Once you confirm the transaction, we initiate an electronic funds transfer from the account that you choose. Your purchased funds are then transferred back to you in the account that you choose within 1 business day. It's that easy. Start saving hundreds of dollars on currency exchange with CBCE. Sign up online or give us a call today.
Bye.